guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today in the Ask SSM video series, got an email from a subscriber. This guy is in his late 40s. He's been married for 8 years now, and about 8 months ago, he discovered some things about his wife, or shall I say her activities, that definitely, in my opinion, as well as 99.99999% of you, would find as grounds to divorce her. However, our guy here is in a bind because he has a young daughter. A daughter who's autistic, he loves her to death, and taking her out of her environment, divorce and all that could really be a big problem. So this guy wants to stay the course for his daughter's sake, even though his wife is no one he should be married to after what he discovered. Not to mention, things weren't that great to begin with otherwise. And I thought we'd go over here, guys. One, I want to help this guy out because he's definitely in a bind here. And you guys, I know, are great about that. We'll help them in the comment section. But also make the point, guys, that you really got to do your homework on your girl before you get married to her. And women that you meet around late 20s, early 30s, oftentimes they're in a hurry to get married. So they're going to marry a guy they normally wouldn't give the time of day to because they're 30 years old and all that. And you're going to see in the story, this guy does just that, not seeing the big picture. He found my material after he got married to her, and he obviously was very, very the typical nice guy, blue pill guy back in the day. He makes lots of mistakes. But our guy is a good man. He's a good father. He's tried, and I really want to help him out. So even though I'm going to, give him some smacks along the way, in the end, I'll speak more on the subject to really try to help this guy out and find the right place to be. But also, I got to say this, guys. Even though you love your kid and all that, you can't be in a very bad marriage like this. It's going to be a nightmare. And it will make it a nightmare for the kid if you and the wife are fighting all the time. There's no love, no respect, all that. So, jumping into it, he says, "Hello, SSM. I've been a loyal listener for most of the last year. This story will end a little differently, for now, than you would normally anticipate. This will earn me my share of smacks, but I have my reasons, which I'll explain as I go. Whether it's the best course or just delaying the inevitable remains to be seen, although if it's just a delay, expect a part 2 sometime in the future. Now on to the story. There will definitely be a part 2, especially after all you guys and me say our piece at the end of the story. Well, to start, I'm currently in my late 40s, and my wife just turned 40 years old. We've been married 8 years and have been together for almost 10 years. I was your typical blue pill guy when I met my wife, and have been so my entire life. I did not have much in the way of good influences for relationships growing up, so I didn't really know how else to be. Well, man, that's not your fault. That is most guys out there, okay? Absolute majority guys. The blue-pilled mindset just felt natural to me, so I did what I did. To no one's surprise, I did not have much luck with the ladies, although I didn't really start to put effort into meeting women until my 30s. I did have a few girls who liked me over the years, but I had zero attraction for them and didn't really pursue anything with them. That's the point. Because you had no attraction to them and you made no effort, probably when you were around them, girls at work, although you shouldn't date anybody at work, girls at school, whatever, the gym, wherever you interacted with women, you were probably natural around them. You didn't put them on the pedestal, you didn't kiss their butt, and therefore they were attracted to you because you were natural and, That should have been my first hint to change my mindset with women, but I was oblivious, and hindsight is 20/20. At that time, the girls I did like would be put on the pedestal, and I either wouldn't be given the time of day, or I would have a nice seat in the friend zone. See what he just said? The girls he did like, put them on the pedestal, kiss their butt and all that. Nope, not interested. It's the age-old, the girls that you like aren't interested in you, but the ones that you don't like, they won't leave you alone, they're after you. That happened so many times to me when I was younger. I didn't know any better. The trick is, guys, as difficult it is try to behave the same way around all women. And I know a lot of you guys are like, good luck to that, SSM. But over time, you can develop that ability. It takes a long time. Well, fast forward to my late 30s, and I had all but given up. I had put all my energy into looking for a girlfriend for several years, both in person and through online dating. Well, bro, why was it such a big deal? Is it because you wanted to get married and have a family? Or just you were lonely, felt like you couldn't be alone, which is the worst possible thing to be? Did you have a job, a career you liked? Did you have hobbies, friends, interests, stuff like that? You just wanted to get laid? I mean, It seems like a lot of effort. Well, the closest I got was falling for a woman in a polyamorous marriage that I met online. Smack, that's a terrible idea. You were desperate, dude. I know, Smack. I knew it wouldn't work long term, but that didn't stop me from falling head over heels for her at that time. Smack. Falling for someone that it wouldn't work out with. We hooked up once with permission from her husband, who was deployed out of state at the time. Are you sure that was him? That night we both got drunk, I didn't perform very well, and that was the end of hooking up with her. Things spiraled downhill from there over the next few months, and we stopped talking. I'm over her now, but it took years to get there, even though I knew it would never work long term. In the best case scenario, logic can only get you so far. Yeah, man, you did not have the right role models and influences when you were younger, hence your actions there. And I'm guessing because there was so much effort in finding the girl that you probably didn't have other things in your life you liked too much. That's why I encourage all you guys out there to find things that you're passionate about, your hobbies, your goals, stuff like that you're working towards. You'll feel better about yourself. Not to mention, it doesn't hurt to hit the gym and exercise and be fit and in shape so you're looking good and dressing well and all that, work on your social skills. Then you won't be so desperate. And potentially find a passion that you can turn into a business. That's your purpose. A man on his purpose, on his grind, is unstoppable, and women chase after them. Well, between that and the complete lack of success with dating, I spiraled into depression and had decided to off myself. No, that's not the answer, man. Clearly you know that because you're still here with us today. But guys, I know a lot of you feel alone. You're not alone. Someone's out there that cares. Don't ever want to end yourself. Life's a gift, even though life seems like a fucking nightmare a lot of the time. If you're feeling like ending yourself, guys, get help, please. Especially don't end it over a girl. I lived in that state of mind for a couple months, preoccupied with how I would do it. I picked a place and the approximate time and was working on the logistics of how to do it right. It was during this time that I met my wife. For better or for worse, meeting her saved me from myself. I've grown a lot since then, and I'm now a different person. My self-worth is no longer tied to finding or staying with another person. It was like a metaphorically drowning, and she threw me a life preserver, but since then, I've learned to swim. Well, that's great, man. I mean, in spite of how I know this story goes, you're still here, thank God, and you have a daughter. But now it's time to use what you just said here, that you don't need to be with somebody, and put that into play. So I met my wife through one of her friends, but I'll spare further details for anonymity. We clicked right away and started dating a month after we met. Pretty early on, I knew I wanted to marry her. I know, smack. Well, dude, I'm not that surprised. You're obviously that type of guy. We moved in together about after a year for various reasons. Smack, way too soon. I ended up proposing a few months later because of pressure from her family. Smack. Dude, I trained shoulders yesterday. My shoulders are sore from the workout, and you're not helping any with me having to keep smacking you with my fucking shoulder every 30 seconds. Pressure to marry her? No. No. That one of the biggest decisions of your life, like buying a house and getting married, you can't be pressured into that shit. But what's going on here? You see, guys, you start doing the math here. This is when his now wife was around 30 years old, give or take. And you know what happens when they turn 30? They all start freaking out. They want to be married. They feel like they know darn well that they're, the value, the market value, if you will, is not as easy as it was in their 20s. So typically they'll rush things with a guy who seems like a sure thing. They may like the guy a little bit, see things they like, but a lot of times they're like, hey, boom, he's marriage material. That's what I'm seeing here. Hence the rushing in. Her family is very religious, and we're unhappy that we moved in together. I had the talk with her dad soon after we moved in, where he asked my intentions and made it known he expected us to be moving towards marriage sooner rather than later. Well, that's when you, as a man who was in his late 30s at the time, a man, could have told him respectfully that it's your business. End of story. While I had not planned to propose for a while longer, I accelerated my timeline to keep the peace with her family. Smack! In other words, you were appeasing them. You caved. And that makes people think, oh, I can pressure this guy into other shit. I know, more smacks to me for both moving in so soon and for allowing her family to pressure me on the timeline. See, notice guys, a lot of guys that write in here, they enter the smacks because they know. Which means, guess what, guys? You're learning something. So if you already know what I'm going to do before I even do it, hence smacking you for being boneheads, past versions of you, you're learning something. Well, fast forward to about a year after we moved in together and we had our wedding. I was mostly happy and stayed that way for a while. While the marriage wasn't perfect, I'll get to that shortly, it was mostly good and overall I was content. We eventually had a daughter who was almost 4 years old. Well, congratulations, Papa. Now, the start of where things go sideways was our sex life. Gee, there's a stereotype. You get married, you have a kid, and the loving, downhill, plummets. My wife had a few boyfriends before we met, but did not seem to be the party girl type. Heard that before. While I don't remember an exact number offhand, I believe she had been around 5 people before we met. Yes, she disclosed the people she had been with early on, but I don't think she lied about it. Well, if she told you 5, then probably it was 15 or more. That's just kind of how it goes. Immediately triple, and frankly, in the 2020s, maybe you need to quadruple that number. Yeah, she disclosed the people she'd been with early on, but I don't think she lied about it. Normally, I would have said to triple the number, but I have an independent source that confirms this to be true. I have to be vague here, but I can disclose it further in private if needed. What independent source can guarantee you her count? No. We waited a month or 2 before having SCX for the first time, although looking back, I think she would have let me done that sooner if I had pushed for it. A month or 2, huh? That's a long time, man. Now, okay, let's just say you were taking your time. It's interesting you said if you had wanted it sooner or pushed for it. Maybe it sounds to me that you did not want to mess anything up, so you weren't pressuring her, which screamed nice guy all over the place. I was never really happy with the frequency of our love life, even from the early stage of our relationship, but I just wrote it off as her not having as much drive as I did. Since everything else was good, I figured I could work with that. Nope, doesn't work that way. Usually gets worse. Look, nobody should be in a position to have to do things physically they don't want to, man or woman. But a man has needs. And if you weren't getting the frequency of the love that you wanted or needed, that's a problem. It really is. The thing is, you were, no offense, so desperate to be with somebody, you were going to put up with anything. Like moving in quickly, like proposing her from pressure from her family, like not getting any for 2 months after you started dating. This is what happens when guys that are desperate get into things. And women know this. They can smell it a while away. The way a dog can sense something, you can smell something so far away, so can women. Desperation is not an attractive quality in a man. And again, I'm talking about past you. I know you know this. Since everything else was good, I figured I could work with that. Well, fast forward again a few years into the relationship, and the SCX tapered off even further. Sometimes waiting a month or 2 between times when she was in the mood. Oh my God. Remember, gentlemen, I know you know this. If she's not getting it from you, she's getting it someplace else. The feeling of constant rejection took its toll on me, and I stopped putting much effort into trying, or stopped at the slightest hint of a no. I didn't deal well with constantly spending my energy trying, mostly unsuccessfully, to get her in the mood, and end up putting that energy into other things instead, like video games. We slowly drifted apart, and I was definitely hesitant to have kids, as I thought that would only further hinder our love life, and I was correct. Now what the hell you married her for? You're not getting any. Then you were rushed into things. But again, you honestly sound like a guy that couldn't be alone. And that is the biggest problems that so many guys have. I want to smack guys when they say they can't be alone. The fuck's problem being alone? And when I say alone, not alone, you have people in your life like your bros and your family and all that, but like with a romantic relationship. Until you can handle being on your own, guys, you're only going to make mistakes. Well, when she got pregnant, and for about 2 years afterwards, she had virtually no drive at all, and was verbally hostile most of the time, even with a slight invitation. During this time, I immersed myself into video games as much as I could and often slept on the couch. Again, you were better off single. Does this sound like a happy life? She's miserable. You're miserable. I mean, you got your daughter out of this, and I'm hoping to hell, to God, that this daughter's yours. And you just buried yourself in video games to escape all this shit. I little desired to be in the same bed while she was awake, just in case I got the urge to try something. I didn't need further rejection eroding that part of myself. So for a guy who has no self-esteem, this is only making it worse. What changed things for me was content like your channel. Over time, it alerted me to all the red flags I would finally identify, even it took me a couple months to get there. The final flag that made me start looking was that I was dealing with a technical issue with our cable internet connection while she was at work. Her computer likely had some info I needed, but she would not give me her password to help. I eventually found another way to resolve the problem, but it got me thinking about what she needed to hide. Well, man, I'm glad you found my channel. Thank God. Got you on the path to where you're going. Since she was so reluctant about sharing her computer, it made it my mission to figure out a way to look at it. I ended up getting a way to access her computer, but it logged her out of all her accounts in the process, so it was somewhat limited in usefulness. I still found enough for the effort to be useful, though. First, as it turns out, and here we go, this is where he opens the can of worms. First, she was talking to multiple people inappropriately online, sending nudes, etc., but what totally threw me for a loop was her fantasies that she had never disclosed to me. Uh-oh. In addition to this, she had sausage pictures from multiple people, including some of her exes saved. Well, that's not good. Remember I told you she isn't getting something from you, she's getting it someplace else? Sounds like she does have a drive, but it ain't with you. Divorce. Grounds for divorce. And oh yeah, P.S. guys, I'm leaving something out here on purpose because this video will not get through. He found out about a lot of her fantasies, and let me tell you, they are effed up. I know you're like, come on, SSM, you got to tell us. They're fucked up. And there's kinky, there's freaky, everybody's got their thing, but this is effed up. And add that to the other things, it should be, just take my word for it. And he knows this. I'm saying this, I'm keeping this quiet out of respect for him. She was also very protective of her phone. Well, shocker. And had told me about messaging a friend of hers that went to high school with her, but currently lived out of state, which had started a month or so previously. I didn't know her password from watching her type it in over the years, so in the rare moments when she separated from the phone, I would take a few minutes to look at what I could. I discovered her secret Twitter account name, along with messages to this friend, which at that point was a full-blown emotional affair with nudes and I love yous. Jesus. Brother, I'm so sorry. I really am. But this is what happens, guys. When a woman rushes into a relationship, a marriage, because they're turning 30, they marry a sure thing. A guy they know that wants a relationship like you were, and they get married. Has her actions at all, from what he's describing here, it shows that she loves him? No. She's getting her attention and validation and other needs fulfilled someplace else. Divorce. But he has a kid. Her secret Twitter account revealed that this so-called friend was just the current guy in a long line of friends and former exes she would message over the years, and also provided more insight into her secret fantasies. Here's the thing. Why didn't she marry any of those guys? Oh, wait, because they're Chad and Tyrone's and they don't get married. Another thing I discovered was that she had messaging and sending nudes to an ex-boyfriend within months of us getting married. I assume this type of behavior happened while we were dating and engaged as well, along with on and off during the entire marriage. But I have no proof of that at the moment. Brother, you got enough proof to walk away forever. You think her religious parents would be very happy with their daughter behaving in a very un-Christian-like way? I think not. I'm sorry, man. We're not done. Around the same time I started to get suspicious, we had independently started to reconnect with each other, both emotionally and sexually. Her sex drive had returned, even though she hadn't told me about this until we reconnected. I stopped playing video games and focused on both reconnecting and investigating the red flags to see where each of it would take me. She ended up revealing her fantasies to me before I needed to confront her about them, which was nice, but a bit of honesty from her, but never was honest about her friend. I find it very interesting the timing around the time you discovered all these things about her. That also, she flipped the script and all of a sudden started love bombing you with affection, attention, back to the bedroom, all that. Something tells me she somehow knew you were found dirt on her, kept it quiet, poker face if you will, and thinks, he could divorce me. That's just the theory, but the timing, I don't believe in coincidences, and this is just too much of a coincidence in the timing. But dude, why are you ending it with her? You can't be with someone like this. You can't trust her. But I'll come to that. Well, I tried holding off as long as I could to collect evidence on her, but couldn't take it any longer, and after a couple weeks, I packed a bag to leave. I emailed her a message saying that I'd seen her Twitter and knew everything about the current guy, and told her I'd be away to think. I know you would have advised to leave instead, but I do have my reasons for not ending it then and there, which I will explain very soon. When I left, I turned my phone to airplane mode, but I ended up in a hotspot with my mobile carrier, which automatically connected me again. I should have just exited the hotspot without looking, but curiosity got the better of me. And I was wondering how many squares I would get on the Hobag Handbook bingo card, so I looked. Well, there were messages started with, "It's not what you think," and ended up with, "I'm sorry, I messed up, please come home." I ended up emailing and eventually letting her call me to discuss it. Since I hadn't booked a hotel yet, I ended up going home to talk further, and I know smack again, I did have my reasons. Yeah, smack. So all she knows is she just sends you a few messages saying, "I'm so sorry, it's not what you think, and you'll come home." You should have been away for days. That would have not responded, or at least said, "I'm alive, that's it, we'll talk later." Just to shake her. As far as I can tell, nothing ever got physical with people she talked to, but there was one instance where she wanted to meet a friend who was coming to town, and I actually trusted her at the time and encouraged her to reconnect while they had the chance. It turns out they talked about meeting at a hotel, but my wife got cold feet and called it off. God's sakes. As far as you know, I have a very hard time believing in all these years when you were barely getting any, that whatever her name is, wasn't cheating. I have a very hard time. From what I can tell through all my sources, that's the closest it ever got to being physical with anyone. Who are these sources you're talking about? Like the source that confirmed that, your wife only had 5 lovers in her life or something like that? If I ever find out that it was physical with anybody, I am done. There's no way I can come back from that. Dude, there's no way, in my opinion, there's no coming back from all this. I know nobody out there will believe nothing will ever got physical, but again, I have independent source that corroborated this. But I'll not say publicly, but I'll be happy to do so in private if needed. Yes, please email me this source. So on to the reasons why I didn't end things. First is that I gave her too much freedom early on in the relationship. Being the blue-pilled nice guy that I was, and with little experience with a poly girl, I let things slide and even gave permission for things I should have never considered. Well, I'm glad you're recognizing that. That shows growth. Yeah, from the get-go you started dating, you can't tell me that friend that recommended her didn't say how obviously you were in such a bad place and everything. She knew from the get-go she had your number. Women are great like that. I'm not great. They got that ability. They can pick a nice guy out a mile away. They got that radar. Boom, nice guy. And they go towards him when they're ready to settle. She knew. And yeah, you were the typical nice guy in your relationship, which showed her she can get away with anything. Says, but I set a weak foundation and precedent that most likely got her to act without fear of consequences. Exactly. Because of things like that, I thought that there was a chance that resetting boundaries and expectations might change the dynamics of the relationship moving forward. If nothing else, it would give me peace of mind knowing that if I left, it was because she broke boundaries I firmly set. Even though she was in the wrong and I knew it when I walked out, I would have felt some responsibility knowing I had helped lay a bad foundation. Well, you did lay a bad foundation, but the problem is, you laid such a bad foundation, even if you start laying down the law now and turn into the biggest, baddest alpha male on the planet, still, she's going to be testing you every bit of the way, and that won't change your character, that she's a cheater, and she's a liar, and she's devious, and mean. The second reason I'm giving this another chance is for my daughter. She has autism, and structure is really good for her. Plus, I live in a no-fault state and would likely not see her very often if we split up. I didn't want to take that chance yet, but I will not stop me if boundaries are crossed again. Brother, she's crossed so many boundaries, I can't begin to mention that, and you know it. And she will cross boundaries, so be prepared. And before it goes too far, I know the question will come up on how do you know she's actually my daughter? The answer is that I don't know 100% yet. But I've helped raise her since she was a baby, and we have a father-daughter bond. She is my daughter as far as I'm concerned. Okay, in other words, you get the paternity test and you find she's not your daughter because you love this little human being. She's your daughter in your eyes, so that's it, end of story. Okay, I can respect that. Not everybody would, but I respect that. And by the way, regardless of what that paternity test may tell you, it's not the daughter's fault. Okay? But dude, your wife's an asshole and you need to get rid of her, but I'll come back to that moment. As for actual paternity, I do plan to get her tested in the near future to be sure, although I do think more likely than not she is actually mine. I hope she's yours, dude. I'm not stupid enough to blindly believe she's biologically mine, though at this point without proof. So all this happened about 8 months ago, and for now we are more open. I've not told my wife how I know everything that I know because I don't want her to just get better at hiding things. That's one of the reasons I've been vague here. There have been a few times I've noticed her testing boundaries, but I've called her out on them and she seems committed to the marriage for now. I'm glad you've been calling her out on things, and I'm glad you've noticed things to call out on her. You have improved substantially since you first met her. But the bad foundation is there. The foundation of your marriage is on sand, not on rock, and this is not going to last. I know that can change, and I'm always on the lookout for red flags and verifying everything okay as often as I feel necessary. If things change, there will be a part 2 to this story. I'd rather not divorce if I can help it, though, and I'd hope to be laying down the law for the first time in the relationship, and it won't come to that. Time will tell, though. That's my story. I can provide evidence and screenshots for proof if needed. I'm also inviting any questions you may have. Just ask. Thanks for listening. It was good to get this out. Well, bro, I appreciate you writing in. And you know what? A lot of guys say that. It feels so good to get this off their chest, Not to mention knowing that there's a community of guys out there to share these stories with. A lot of guys say how it's nice to know they're not alone. Like, nobody wishes bad shit about anybody else, but to know you're not alone, because this shit happens to guys all around the world. But anyhow, bro, let's go back to the issue here. That's noble of you and stoic to stay in this marriage to protect your daughter so the routine doesn't change because she's autistic, and structure and routine is key, is paramount to them. But staying with her, who's all the things she's done and how she's treated you in your marriage and disrespected you and talking to those other guys, and I have an impossible time believing she wasn't hooking other people, it's not going to work. It will not work. Your relationship is built on sand. You were just too weak early on. Again, you can act like the biggest, baddest alpha on the planet, man, and she's still going to test the shit out of you and test boundaries to get better at hiding things. She's not dumb. She knows you found out probably through her computer. I'm sure she's very good at covering her tracks now. But here's the thing. You're in your late 40s. You're like my age. I'm 47, so I'm guessing you're pretty darn close to that. Life is short, okay? I don't want you to be in this miserable marriage. You can't have something like this where there's zero trust, zero respect, and all that. She's putting on the show just to keep order. And yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk you get divorced and she gets the daughter. Makes it difficult for you to see her and get taken to the cleaners. But do you really want to be with someone like this? So many times in these stories, these guys end it where, like, I'm going to give another chance for the kids. And then 6 months down the road, yeah, I ended it. And they're happy that they ended it. So at the very least, brother, I suggest if I know what your job is, but if you're not being paid by the hour, you're on salary, take a sick day or a personal day. This is what I think. And go talk to a lawyer and just lay it out. What's the worst I can expect in the state I'm living in and the 8 years I've been married and the daughter? What's the worst I can expect if I get divorced? What are the odds are about the custody with the daughter, the assets, all that? Find out. And that way you're not taking off work and losing money. Again, this is if you're on a salary and you can take a personal day or a sick day to do this and find out. And that way you're kind of prepared. And I know you don't want this. I know you like to keep order for the dog. I know in a perfect world you can just let this stuff go and everything will be magical, wonderful. It's not going to work. I've covered stories where adults reflect on their childhoods and say, I wish my parents would have got divorces, but the parents stayed together for the kids and it was miserable. So at the very least, man, don't make any rash decisions. Think about this for a while. Do your homework. Let's take my advice about talking to a lawyer and talk to maybe somebody you can truly trust that cares about you, because life, and you definitely have come so far. I can tell. The fact that you can pick out all these things where you're messing up on, that's progress. Because people that are clueless can't tell, you know? And also, I really want you to be able to get used to the idea of potentially being on your own again. And that's okay. There's nothing, you don't have to have a wife or girlfriend to have any meaning in life, man. You know, you can have things that you enjoy, that give you purpose, a reason to get up every morning. You have your daughter, regardless of, you know, if you find out that she's actually your daughter or not. And I hope the hell she is. I'm sure she's a beautiful little girl. And she needs her papa. But you can't stay in this marriage. But at the end of the day, it's your life, okay? So, gentlemen, the main theme of this story is I'm trying to help this guy out. You can see, don't rush into a marriage. Beware of those women in their late 20s or 30 on that are trying to get married. Don't be pressured into things. And having a self-esteem, a self-worth that you don't tolerate this crap. And, of course, don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like your life is incomplete. You want to end yourself because you don't have a girlfriend or on the path to marriage. There's just no way to be, you know? And, of course, guys, the importance of having knowledge like this. If this guy listened to me, if I was on YouTube 15 years ago, this guy would be in a much different place. But then again, he never had his daughter here, so who knows? What happens, happens. So, guys, please comment away. You know, this guy's been through a lot. He's a good guy, so say what you guys say, but remember that. He's a good guy. Try to be merciful on him, but help him out. Some tough love in the comment section. Let him know what you think. You don't have to agree with me. That's okay, you know, but I say what I think. So, bro, listen to the comment, read the comments, listen what they have to say, think about things, and hopefully down the road, you know, you make the right decision. But I wish you the best and happiest no matter what you choose. I really do. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.